Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. This is a review of the MKII Fulcrum, one of the newest watches from the boutique brand, a brand that I happen to like a lot. So what is MKII? So MKII started out as a watch modifier. So what they would do, they would take watches that people had that they wanted to modify them or restore them, like new dials or relume them, and he would do things like that. Then he got too busy with that and he stopped doing it, as far as I understand, and he started making his own watches. Now, the guy that does it, his name is Bill Yao, and he lives in Pennsylvania, in in the watchmaking country. And he has a very, very unique type of business, and his stuff is always in demand, but is known by relatively few people. And it's probably best to stay that way, because if he got too busy, he would stop being able to have the good prices he has and make some of the cool things. He puts a lot of attention to detail, which is something that, is common in watchmakers. They're obviously detail-oriented people, but he, he's really, really invested in the quality of everything. So I guess I'm going to say that in terms of boutique, very small brands, he has an extremely nice product. The fit and finish is fantastic, and this is something which is relatively unrivaled elsewhere. So let's talk about the Fulcrum. This is what he calls the American version of the Mill Sub, and it incorporates design elements from some historic Rolex and Tudor watches, and you can see that a dial is something that does look like some of the old, what they say, Mill Sub watches. So this is the American one because it's made in America. It does not have an American movement. It actually has a Swiss movement. No, not an ETA. It has a Soprod A10 in there, which is a great movement. It's very nice, and you can see that this is a very military style watch. Of course, there's everyone's favorite helium escape valve there, because this is a dive style watch. Of course, it has a bead blasted steel case, which is a very attractive finish for a military style watch. I like a lot. This one has what's called the what did he call it? It was like a sun gray dial. It's supposed to look like a black dial that over years has been kind of faded by the sun to make it a little bit of a gray. There is a perfectly black version available, but I think this is a little bit more unique, and I like it. Domed sapphire crystal there that's anti-reflective coated, screw down crown, water resistant to I believe 300 meters. 300 meters. So this is a real dive watch. Now, even though it's a dive watch, people are going to say it's not a real dive watch because it doesn't have your traditional timing bezel. Instead of having a 60-minute countdown timer, it has what's called a GMT bezel, or a second time zone bezel, where you have the hours. So what can you do with this? You can do two things. One, you can use it to count down hours versus minutes. But again, if you really wanted to consider these minute indicators, you could. But you can also use it to track a second time zone. It is a unidirectional one. So if you wanted to track a second time zone, what you would do is you would line it up to the hour hand and pretend that was noon somewhere else, and then be able to track it. So that's a cool way of using this feature. And these are actually relatively uncommon. These what they call the second time zone bezels. Usually it is just a 60-minute countdown timer. So that is a cool, unique element to the Fulcrum, which I enjoy. Before finishing talking about the watch, I want to talk about the packaging here. So here's a nice case from MKII, and I want to just sort of show you the kind of dedication to detail and the type of people that they are. So you have a little booklet here, which has, just some, this is instructions, very kind of like to the point, but I like that they even include it. And of course, every single one has, someone actually wrote in this. So they wrote Fulcrum, they wrote the order number, and there's a checklist here to show that there's been quality control, right? And as well as some of the features. So it tells you the features, and I'll show you the quality control one later. So here you have, all the things: a screw down crown, water resistant, helium release, and it's interesting to see that. So if you're not sure between mineral, glass, and sapphire, it has sapphire there, and that's a cool thing. Here you have the quality control. This is a handwritten form where they do the positional accuracy testing of the movement. So they have the movement in different positions, and then they show you here roughly the rate results at 6 positions. Kosk actually only does 5 positions. So that's a neat feature to have. And then here you have the case where you can have storage for 3 different watches here. And then they have tools, and this is really, really neat. You have here a changing tool. So this is, and it's great packaging that is, like real watchmakers packaging. So So this tool here, I'm pulling it out. I actually haven't done this yet. This is a pretty serious container. And here you have a tool with different ends for changing the strap. And these are actually screw bars. Or the pin bars for the not screws, the pin bars and there's a bunch of them in there. So he's just giving you a bunch of extra ones. I don't know why, but that is a nice feature. And it shows you that for MK2, this is a tool. This is not just a style item. This is a tool. So they're treating it like a tool by offering this assortment of things together in this case. And that's just a cool thing. I mean, it's not gimmicky. For him, it really is a tool. So anyways, let's go back to the watch itself. They have a special technology of applying the loom. So it's raised and it looks like it's a bunch of layers of loom. The luminant is quite good. It is, of course, Super Luminova. On the wrist, there it is, 42 millimeters wide. Not a huge watch, not a small watch. I'd say an excellent mid-size for a timepiece. Extremely legible, but really no nonsense. And what's also important to note is that this is a anti-magnetic case. Of course, I believe there's a soft iron core in there, and it says anti-magnetic right there on the dial. I think it's attractive. It's very much, like I said, the type of outdoorsy or sport watch, but there's a distinct military angle, and all of MK2 stuff has that distinct military angle, and really features and functionality and utility are really part of the design. So look there on the strap, and you can notice that it's there's a texture there, and that's meant to make it so it doesn't slip around too much when it's on the wrist. And what I like about this is you can wear the strap relatively tightly. And if you want to do like very high active sports that you don't want your watch to be moving around all over the place, it's really good for that because it's not sliding. I mean, that's what straps are for, but honestly, not all straps are as good as this one. Very nice texture to the strap, very high grade. He did a good job with selecting all the componentry, and that's what MK2 does. Is they really try to build the best product possible that fits a theme. Because a lot of these watches, like the mil subs, they're all vintage. They're either not convenient to wear because they're old, they're hard to get, they're very expensive. So he's creating modern versions of these classics, but he's doing it in a very good way. So in a sense, I don't want to say replicas, but these are modern homages to old concepts. But more and more, what MK2 is doing is building in their own designs and building in their own theme. And I think the Fulcrum is really something like that because it has some of its own characteristics to it. So it's a cool brand if you're into that sort of thing. Price on this one is $1,925, which is a really good value for not only all the handwork and hand assembling made in the USA, good componentry, and overall really good execution. And you can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch soon. Thanks.